Alrighty.
That's okay. So
Okay.
what those two fields, so we're not, in this example, the data loader is going to pull up all of the fields that exist in Salesforce. So remember, the top part is all the fields in Salesforce. The bottom part is your Excel file. So in this example, we're not mapping all of the fields because we're only mapping the fields that are in our data file. So the owner ID is important if you are working for an organization. Like, say we work for an organization, there are different people in our organization that own the different records, right? They're responsible for the records. Then we would put the owner in, because the owner is the person that we want assigned to the record once that data is uploaded. So to give you an example, I just built a Salesforce database for a school, and the teachers need to be connected to the students. So when I uploaded the student file, I had to put in the owner ID their teacher's name, so that when the teacher logs into Salesforce, she can see all the students in her class. In a car dealership, you might be uploading inventory, and there might be a sales rep that's assigned to a specific inventory item. So, Selena might be responsible for all of the Acuras, right? So they make me the account owner. And the account owner field allows me to create list views that I can filter by, like, remember when we created the list view that said my inventory or my contacts or my accounts? When you set the person as the owner, it allows those list views to generate for that person. So there are times where you're going to be using that owner ID field. Right now, we're the only people in our orgs, so we're not going to use the owner ID. If you don't have an owner ID in your data file, what happens is whoever does the upload, the owner is defaulted to them. So right now, because you guys are the only users in your org and you're uploading this inventory file, when we go into Salesforce, you're going to see your name listed as the owner. So anytime you don't specify an owner ID, it will default to you. So here's another reason why this is important. If you guys end up landing jobs as consultants and you're working with different clients, you don't want to be the owner of their data, right? Because you're only going in there to do the configuration and data migration, and you're going to go away. So if you're working as a consultant with an organization, you want to make sure that if the customer gives you a data file to upload to Salesforce, you want to make sure you ask them who should own those records, because when you make that upload, you're going to own those records, right? And that's probably not what they want. They want someone who works at the organization to be the owner of the records. So we're not going to map owner ID right now. We're not going to map option description because that field is affiliated with the accessories and we're not uploading accessories. And we're not going to upload opportunity. And I'm going to talk to you guys in a minute about what that opportunity field is. But what that is a link to the purchase order. And so we're going to go in and make sure that field is created. And I wasn't exactly sure if you guys had completed that when you did your homework assignment or when you had Annabelle's class. So we'll talk about that in a minute, what that field is. So you guys should have 2 fields or 3 fields left over. You probably don't have the quantity field because I didn't have you guys create that one yet. So we already saved our map file. So then let's hit OK. And then it's going to give us this screen where we can quickly again look and make sure that our map file makes sense. And then we're going to hit next. And then in this stage, on step 4, it's asking you to select the directory where your success and error files will be saved. So what is that? Anytime that you guys do a data load using the Apex data loader, Salesforce does 2 things. It spits back to you 2 files. One file is your success file. Everything that went through properly is going to be spit back out to you in the success file, and it's going to add a column. And in the column, it's going to put a unique ID. That unique ID is the ID that Salesforce is creating for that record. Every time you create a piece of data in Salesforce, it automatically creates a unique ID so that you can't mix that one inventory item up with another inventory item or a contact with another contact. It is a completely unique identifier. And the reason why that's important is because 2 people can have the same name, right? Or 2 cars can have the same make, model, and year, right? But the unique ID is always going to be a completely unique unit, and Salesforce will spit that ID back to you. Last week, if you guys remember, we talked about the difference between insert and update. When you update a record in Salesforce, you need to specify that unique ID. So if we say, and we're gonna do it because right now we're going through an insert, but then I'm gonna go back and show you guys how to make an update to the record and how you use the unique ID to do that. So let's finish walking through the steps. At this, in step 4, what Salesforce is asking you right now is where do you want us to spit out those success and error files? So right now it's pointing to my desktop, but I could change that. I could click browse and I can specify some other location that I want Salesforce to put my file. So I'm gonna do that. On my desktop, I'm gonna create a new folder and I'm gonna call it PepUp Data. You totally don't have to do this. You can allow Salesforce to spit it on your desktop. I usually like to create a folder so that it's organized, right? Like it's taking, and the reason why I do that is because I work with a lot of different clients. And when it gives you back that success file, it's just going to say error and have a giant long number attached to it, an ID number, or it's going to say success and have a really long ID number. So I usually create a folder for the customer that I'm doing the data load for, and I just put it on my desktop. So I hit create, and then I'm going to say open, and I'm telling Salesforce to put my success and error files into the folder I just created. And then I'm going to hit finish. So now it's asking me, you have chosen to insert new records and click yes to begin. Do you want to proceed? We're going to hit yes. And now here, it's telling me that for some reason, I got an error, right? It's telling me that only 3 were successful and I had 21 errors. So what I usually do when I get an error, before I open up the folder to see what the problem is, you can click this view error button and you can get a quick preview of what the error is before you go in and fix it. So let's hit view errors. Whenever you hit view errors, it's going to show you a sample of your CSV file, but they're going to add a row to the end. So you want to scroll all the way to the right and you want to look at the column that says error, and you want to look at what the error is. So here it's telling me that my price is invalid. So I don't know why my price would be invalid. Maybe it has to do with the fact that I put a comma in it. I don't know yet, but this is giving me some information about what I need to troubleshoot, right? So I'm going to close that out. And then I'm going to say, let me take a look at my successes, because if my successes have the file without the comma, then maybe that's the problem. So I'm going to click view successes and scroll all the way to the right, and it says item created. If I look at my prices, it doesn't have the comma in it. So I'm pretty sure that the error that I'm getting has to do with that comma. And sometimes it's a bit of a trial and error to figure out what the error is, right? The error, sometimes it makes no sense. Sometimes you have to Google the error, whatever the case may be. But the first step as a system admin is to try to figure it out. And what I would do is look and say, okay, these were created, close it out. Now I have to go back and fix those errors. So there's a couple ways that you can fix the errors. One is I could say, I want to start from scratch. I want to fix my file and I want to start from scratch. So I'm going to delete the data load that I just did. So one of the things that you could do is you can say delete, right? You can hit the delete button and say delete the success ones that were the 3 that went through, because I want to fix the file and I want to batch load it all together as a group. Sometimes I do that because there are times when I'm working with a customer and I want to provide them with the success files that go through. And right now, if I give them the success file, it's going to have 3 on one file and it's going to have the other 20, whatever, on another file once I make the correct upload. So I might want to just go in and delete the ones that went successful so I can start all over from the beginning. That's an option. The other way to just fix the file is I'm going to go into my PepUp Tech data folder and I'm going to look for the error file that Salesforce sent to me. Here it is. And open that up. The one that I'm looking at now is my original file, and now Salesforce is sending me the error file. So what I would need to do to fix this is I would go and I would look at my error and it says my number is invalid. So I would go back and I would fix this by removing the columns. Oh, it's telling me it can't replace it. Fine. I don't know why I did that. Okay. I was just trying to quickly remove them, but I can go ahead and do this and then format those cells, and have the, like, put general and have it take that comma out. So now my file is fixed, right? And I can go back and try to upload it again. So what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm going to delete this error column just to clean up my file. And then I'm going to save this. I'm going to keep it in the same folder, and I'm going to make sure it's a CSV file, and then I'm going to hit save. And now I'm going to go back a second time and try to upload the error file that I just fixed. So I'm going to go back to the data loader. I'm going to hit insert again. I'm going to go to my inventory object again. I'm going to browse and look for that upload to inventory file I just created. I'm going to hit next. Now it's 21 records, right? I have 21 records in my file, so I'm going to make sure the initialization sounds correct. And then now I can choose existing map, because I saved the map last time, right? And I called it, I don't remember, but I called it something. I think it was like upload inventory or something like that. Upload inventory, SDL. Yeah, it creates an SDL file. When you save a mapping, the mapping will end in .sdl. So there's my map. And when I open that map, it automatically created the maps for me. So you see that? Everything is mapped perfectly. And now I can hit next. Again, it's asking me where do I want Salesforce to put the success and error files. And then I'm going to hit finish. And yes. And now I have 21 successful inserts and 0 errors. So someone asked the question, okay, so let me go back to Hamida first, and then I'll answer your question, Haley. Hamida, you may have the wrong record type ID. So what you need to do is go into your Salesforce org. Log into your case study org. Go to setup. Anybody else have issues with your data load? Just put a chat in the Zoom chat.
Okay, I did it. And I am in Classic now.
So when Reby and I were on the call, Reby was telling me that they updated the URLs on the record type, so you no longer have to switch to Classic. It's actually in the URL if you go to your backend on your inventory object.
Okay.
That's great because it wasn't there before, and that's new. So really happy to see that. Go to inventory.
Go to inventory.
Click on the gear icon. Go to your setup.
Or setup.
Yeah, setup for your object. I actually clicked setup object, but yeah, go to the back end and click edit object. And then click record types.
Oh, hold on. Edit object.
Yep. And then click record types.
Edit object. Click record types. Okay.
Click vehicle.
Okay.
And then if you look in the URL,
Okay.
record types, you want to grab this number.
Or the entire until C. Oh, okay. Let me.
Number here that comes after record type.
Okay.
And put that in your file.
Can put that in the file. Okay.
And then try your upload again. So back to Haley's questions about the best practice for making changes to your error files on the data loader. Now, the way that I just showed you, I made the change right on the error file. So there really is no right or wrong way. It's a personal preference, right? Usually, I will, if I'm working with a client and I need to retain that original file, like I want to show the client that the data loader, the data load went through and here's the success file, then what I would typically do is I would delete the records that went through successfully, and I would go back and I would re-upload the original file after I made the corrections. The reason why Salesforce gives you the error files and the success files is to make it easier for you, right? So I would say as a best practice, you probably would want to go in and edit the error file and then re-upload it, right? But if you need to retain that original file and you want to make sure that everything is just, in one record, and you don't want to, send the client 2 files or whatever, then you might want to just clear out whatever went through successfully. And a lot of times, like when you get an error, usually every record would error out. It just so happens that 3 of them out of the 24 that I had were correct in the correct format, and the others weren't. Anybody else got an error when they were trying to upload using the data loader that they needed to fix?
Yeah, it's the same issue with the comma in the price.
Okay, cool. Did you fix it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I didn't even mean for that to happen, but I'm glad it did, because it gave us an opportunity for me to show you guys what happens when there is an error in the file. All right, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to show you guys something else. So let's